G'day guys, welcome back. So, I was asleep actually, and I suddenly remembered that it was Tuesday, and more importantly, King Rassie was going to announce the Springboks team against England this weekend. And I got up, 3 coffees later, here I am. The Springboks have just announced their team against Eddie Jones's England 51 minutes ago. And yeah, oh man, let's go through the team. So a few changes to the Springbok team. Obviously, they were this test match technically falls outside of the November international period that is allocated by World Rugby. So a lot of the players actually has to leave the team because they play in the European clubs. So Cheslin Kobe, Andre Esterhuizen, Jasper Wiese have all been recalled to their clubs and not able to play. Vincent Kobus Reinach and Trevor Nyakani have all been recalled as well. So as a result, the Springboks had to make a few changes up against Eddie Jones's England. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. So yeah, a few changes in the key positions, but overall, this is still an incredibly strong Springbok team. Luckily, the Springboks has a pretty good depth in their team. So up against England, I still fancy Springboks' chances coming out of this game with a win. So first up, start the loose position, Ox Nche. I really like this guy's performance in recent times with the Springboks. He's kind of like solidified himself as that number 1 jersey. He had quite a few competitions in recent times with Trevor Nyakani competing for the number 1 jersey, and obviously Vincent Kitshoff has started number 1 jersey as well ever since he returned with Bungi Bonabi by his side. The scrummaging has been spectacular, so he gets number 1 jersey. I'm pretty happy with him, and up against most likely Carl Sinclair, I actually think Inche has a bit of an advantage there for the Springboks. Number 2, Bungi Bonabi for the Springboks, scoring a try last week as well. Incredibly well done. So another powerhouse for the Springboks in that number 2 jersey. Franz Merchebe, as always, gets the number 3 jersey, the big tight head forward. Brings that stability to the scrums, the big heart, line out set pieces. That's all you want from him. No fancy ball carrying, offloads. Oh my god, none of that. He just does the best. He just does what needs to be done. The tight head, bro. In fact, we'll have a look at the World Rugby, the stupidity of World Rugby, and some of the selections of the team of the year. Franz Merchebe is by far the best hard head prop. I don't care about how hard he can run the ball. When it comes to scrummaging, when it comes to set piece, he's the best in the world. Number 4, Eben Etzebeth. Again, last week after he came onto the field in the second half, the Springbok just everything just looks so much better. That's the reason why he doesn't get any time off, because he's just that damn good. Marvin Orie gets number 5 jersey for the Springboks. He was a little bit rusty for 2 weeks now, but hopefully next to Eben, he's gonna be much better than he was last couple of weeks. Sia Khaleesi, the captain, once again, he actually gets no time off at all. Sia Khaleesi gets number 6 jersey. Franco Mostert retains that number 7 jersey. I think within that number 7 jersey. In fact, last week the Lions weren't doing so well in the first half. Mostert was actually moved to be the primary receiver. Evan Roos, everybody's wish has finally come true, gets his first starting cap for the Springboks. The Stormers number 8, young guy. Everybody loves him. He was the South African Player of the Year. Really good to see him to play his first starting test match. Faf de Klerk gets number 9 jersey. Damian Willemse, this is a controversial selection. A lot of people feel like Manny Lebok, after he came onto the field for the second half, the Springboks really kicked into gear and started playing a lot of expansive with utilizing attacking gameplay, and a lot of people felt that was something that Damian Willemse could not achieve for the Springboks. So people kind of wanted to see Manny Lebok up in the starting position, but it looks like the coaches still want Willemse to be the start. Obviously, there's an issue with injuries as well that people have to consider. If they have Manny Lebok start at 10, and if he gets injured, then there's gonna be a bit of there could potentially be like a reserve issues comes into play, or what's gonna be available on the bench. So there's that to be considered as well. So it's not just like, oh, Lebok is the best 10, put him in there. They have to consider like an overall injury risk assessment as well. So I do feel like that's probably one of the other considerations that they have for selecting Damian Willemse at 10. Number 11, this is big return. Makazula Mapimpi, he was dropped last week against Italy in favor of Cheslin Kobe and having Curly Adensa at 11. Curly has played 2 games in a row now. He's moved to number 14 jersey. So big return for Makazula Mapimpi, still one of the best wingers in the world. Damien Dialendi gets to go down to the number 12 jersey. He was 13 last week. I did feel like he plays a lot better at 12. Number 13, he did look a little bit out of position. Like, not out of position. He did look like he was fighting himself in a sort of like position. He didn't really know what to do. He tried to kick the ball away at one time where he got like blocked. It was just really bizarre to see him do that sort of stuff. A little bit out of his comfort zone. It looked like to me last week. Jesse Creel returns to number 13 jersey. And Curdy Alenza, like I said, moved from 11 to 14. Villiers Leroux has been starting to become a playmaker for the Springboks. He's been moving up from the fullback position, slotting into the 12 position at times, and he's doing a lot of these strategic like crossfield kickings, little kicks from behind. And and it's been working out quite well for the Springboks, and he's played a really crucial role as well, especially in the second half, linking himself up in the attack line to create space out wide for Curly Alensa a lot of times, and helping that Springboks get over the try line in that second half. So a really different role that Villiers Leroux is bringing, and it's something that we haven't really seen before, and it has been quite impressive last week. Whether or not he's going to be able to replicate that against England is a different question, but this is something that we should, something that's be really interesting to look out for. In the bench, on the bench, we've got Malcolm Marx. Stephen Kitov retains that bomb squats, hooker, and loose set proposition. In the tight end proposition, since Vincent Koch has get recalled, Thomas Dutoit gets the number 18 jersey at the tight head position. Marco van Staden also returns for the number 19 jersey. He hasn't played for the Springboks since last year. Against might be in the Lions tour, maybe the last time he played. It's been a while. We saw Marco van Staden. So he did appear in the Lions tour, so he's no slouch by any standards. And he'll do just fine for the Springboks. Huaga Smith gets the number 20 jersey. In fact, I'm pretty sure Marco van Staden started in one of the Lions tests, at least one of the Lions tests. And he's definitely no slouch. Huaga Smith brings a lot of speed and at the breakdown. Former Sevens player for the Springboks at number 20. Interestingly, the Springboks will be playing 3 backs this time instead of the 2 they did last week against Italy. So Jaden Hendrickson will come up as a reserve number 9. Over Cobras Reinach selection, and Manny Labok gets number 22 once again, and Kanan Moody gets number 23 jersey, and Moody has also been incredibly impressive. This shows you how stacked the Springbok wing option is. Kanan Moody, the second or third call up for the Springboks winger position, and he barely can. His history was so impressive. Many thought he probably against Australia. Many thought that he should just be starting. But yeah, he could barely get a spot in the Springbok lineup these days. Yeah, with that being said, quick look at the world ranking this last week. Unchanged for the first 5 rankings. Scotland moves up to 6 from 9 after that spectacular performance over Argentina. And Argentina, unfortunately, drops one spot. 6 down to 7. Australia stays at 8 after losing to Ireland, the number 1 ranked team in the world. Wales has dropped 2 spots from 7th down to 9th after losing to Georgia. We'll have a look at that in a second. By the way, it's not a B team that Wales was playing. This was absolutely embarrassing and atrocious. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And Japan retains the number 10 spot overall. Like I mentioned already a bit. World Rugby Men's 15 Dream Team of the Year in partnership with Cap and Mini. I don't know who voted for this. Did they take bribes? Because some of these decisions are just atrocious and mind-boggling. So Ellis Gench gets the Lucet Prop Player of the Year. Just let me get my list up. I felt like there were a number of players that's better than Ellis Gench. Andrew Porter, maybe you can say that. Andrew Porter, Ox Unche potentially, and Stephen Kitsop a better position than Ellis Gench. I don't know how they come up to this decision that he is the number 1, gets the number 1. Malcolm Marx, I can say that I can see why they think that he's the best hooker in the world, but in my books, the best hooker in the world at the moment is Somasani Takiyaho. He can do everything Malcolm Marx does in terms of being technical in the lineouts, in the scrummaging, in the mauls, he also possesses the incredible leg drive and the power game to score tries in short range. The amount of tries this guy scored just with his powerful leg drive is insane. Utterly insane. This guy unstoppable in a short burst of 2 to 3 meters. So Same-Sana Takeaho is by far the best hooker in the world for me. Ty Furlong, number 3, like I said, I do feel like Lomax potentially could be the best tight head prop in the world. Even what do you call it? Franz Malherbe is better than Ty Furlong. Ty Furlong was better last year, but this year I do feel like he's not as good, as dominant as he was last year in the scrummaging. Number 4, Ty Burn. I agree with that. I think he was really, really good for Ireland. Number 5, Sam Whitelock. Who voted for this? Did they watch rugby at all this year? Huh? Hello? Sam Whitelock. How about Eben Etzebeth? Number 5. Yeah, so I don't know, do they even watch rugby who voted for this? I don't know. So Eben Etzebeth definitely gets number 5. Number 6, Pablo, I love you, mate, but the best number 6 is actually Sia Khaleesi by far. And Pablo probably would be in the running for the best number 8 if it wasn't for Adi Savia, who's by far the best number 8 in the world. Gregory Aldridge, yeah, I guess they take bribes at World Rugby. Maybe that's how he got number 8, the best player for the number 8 spot. But Adi Savia, even Pablo Matera could potentially be considered for number 8. But I think Adi is definitely number 8, best number 8. Josh van der Flier, sure, the open side for Ireland. And the backline, I don't know, it's what's going on here. Anton Dupont, sure, at number 9. Really, no one really stands out at number 9 that much these days. Johnny Sexton, I agree, the best number 10 in the world. At number 11, so they have Murica Corambetti. So yeah, Murica Corambetti has had a couple of good games, but he has these moments where he's super brilliant, and then there's just time where it does not exist on the field. That's how I see him. So he's not consistent through the entire match. So he makes the highlight reel a lot. Yes, if you only watch the highlight reel, you would think that he's the best player of the year. But outside of the moments that he makes the highlight reel, he really doesn't do much. To be blatant. So for the number 11, Sam, I kind of well, if they can consider Pablo Matera as number 6, despite the fact that he plays number 8, I would like to say that all the wingers are up running for either the 11 or 14 jersey. So at number 11, I actually have Darcy Graham. I know he plays 14. I thought Darcy Graham was the best winger in Scotland. He works hard. He just, no matter how tough the game is, he always gives 110%, and he gives the Scotland, no matter how bad it is for the team is performing, he always gives Scotland a glimmer of hope to score points. And yeah, I will say Darcy Graham has been consistently the best winger for the Scottish team for the entire year. And I will say Darcy Graham's number 11. Number 12, Desmond de Allende. Yeah, he's okay, but I thought for sure the Scottish centres were better. Robbie Henshaw at 12 and Gary Ringrose at number 13. Lukamu Am, again, if you only watch the highlights, you would think that Lukamu Am is the best outside centre in the world. But his best performance on the field in 2020 in this year was on the wing. He was put onto the winger position where he had that absolute Superman performance. I think it was against Australia. And that's because he was on the wing, so he technically was not playing outside center. And he also had to be injured for almost half the season. So I don't know how you could put him at outside center when he's injured for half the season. And like I said, if these people who only watch his highlights, you would think that he's the best in the world, not knowing that he was actually playing as a winger. Yeah, so I'm sorry, South African fans. It is the truth, okay? And at number 14, again, do these guys only watch highlight reels? Will Jordan don't even touch the ball in some of the... literally, his work rate is 0 for, some of the games he appeared for the All Blacks. How can he get the number 14 jersey? Okay, that's probably an exaggeration, not 0, but borderline 0, right? He touches the ball, once and, with, 5 run meters. In an entire test match against Ireland or something. How can you call that international player of the year performance? It blows my mind, right? So obviously the best number 14 in the world is Damien Pennold. There's hands down, no discussion there. I don't again, who voted for this? I don't know, okay? I don't know. Number 15, Frederick Stewart, I think could potentially be best fullback in the world. The only other person I could think it's close is Stuart Hogg, but he has had like on and off issues during the Six Nations. So yeah, not consistent enough. I guess Freddie will be more consistent despite having like not as good as kicking game. But I can go with Freddie Stewart for the number 15. Anyway, so yeah, like I mentioned, there was Rassie got banned for 2 weeks. Last week, or basically this week that just passed, for his comments on the referee Barnesy. He kind of like made a sarcastic comments last week where he criticized the referee, but by saying that he's showing the fans what they need to do better. But the World Rugby didn't agree. Issued a 2-week ban, and some of his own countrymen has come out and spoken against him a bit. So John Smit, the former captain, World Cup winner, came out and basically said, it really makes the Springboks disliked a lot around the world. And the key point that he's trying to point out is that rugby is a game about being respectful to referees. And he felt like there was too much like back chatting between the players and the referees as well, without going through the captain. So he felt like the rugby needs to go back to its roots of being like a respectable sport. And that's why he thinks that Rassie should just really stop these tweets. Let me know your thoughts on that one. So Rassie obviously won't appeal suspension. He will be banned for 2 games. He won't be at Twickenham this weekend, so he will be watching with on TV, or he'll be watching with what is it? What do you call those things? Anyway, he'll be watching from a distance with a telescope, maybe from the moon. There were also some issues. So yeah, obviously Peter du Toit was banned for was issued a 3-week ban from his red card against France. It could be reduced down to 2 if he takes a tackling course. And then Anton Dupont also gets a 4-week ban for taking out Cheslin Kobe, and it could potentially be reduced down to 3, I guess. But yeah, Dupont will be also banned as well. Like I said, the Springboks had a pretty good outing against the Italians. This is pretty much a game of 2 halves. First half, the Italian looked like they were wild in the game. Could potentially put up another upset. Probably had a lot of Springbok fans, sweating in the living rooms. And the second half, the Springbok put on their bomb squad and really just put the hammer down and really smash Italians in the second half. So obviously the other game, Sir Fozzie versus Sir Eddie, both losers, 25 points to 21. Nobody won. Everybody got booed out of the building. So so this was one of those games where really, I thought probably England would be happier with this result, because New Zealand was dominating the game for about 17 minutes. Actually, New Zealand was dominating the game for about the first 15 minutes, maybe 20, and then just decided to muck around for the next 40 minutes or 50 minutes or so. And then England came back and smashed 3 tries, in the last 10 minutes to draw the game after Bowden Barry getting a yellow card. So this was a bizarre game. And it really showed a lot of issues for both teams, actually. So Eddie Jones has announced an unchanged squad going in this weekend against the Springboks. The one thing from Eddie Jones is that Joe Thokanasinga had a toe injury. I think he had a toe injury or something. Yeah. But he will be back in the squad. So he could potentially be available for selections for England. Well, with that speed and size. A bit more. So Eddie Jones has currently been in talks. It's very likely very likely to be going into an 8-year contract with the United States after his 2023 Rugby World Cup with England. And obviously, the United States has the Rugby World Cup coming up in 2031. So Eddie Jones will be joining Warren Gatland with the United, potentially, not confirmed yet, potentially joining Warren Gatland, helping out the US to plan for the Rugby World Cup. And currently, the front runner for England, for Eddie Jones' replacement, is Crusaders head coach Scott Robertson. Yeah, so he's currently the front runner. Obviously, the All Blacks want him as well. So yeah, we shall see. There might be a bidding war going on, but I do think that England's probably going to throw the kitchen sink at him to try to get him on board. So All Blacks, obviously, like I mentioned, was gutted. A lot of people were blaming TJ Perenara for kicking the ball away just before the end of the match, and he actually pulled his ruptured his Achilles doing that, so he's injured. I thought that was a bit of an overstatement by the fans because they were inside their own 22. You could run the clock down for 2 minutes, but getting it turned over in 2 minutes inside your own 22 is a very dangerous spot to be in. Whereas if you kick the ball down the field, forcing them run 50 meters, I would say that's probably a safer option. To be fair, I actually felt like he made the right decision there. But yeah, maybe could have punted down further. But I did think that try to run the clock down with 2 minutes left is too risky. Fozzie kind of agreed with that. He did feel like that was the right decision, but just not executed clinically enough. But yeah, this is actually quite interesting with some of the post-match comments. So Fozzie was last week or the week before was gaslighting. I've talked about it in this channel. He basically said that that win against Scotland was an improvement from it was an improvement on their ability to finish the game in comparison to their performances in the Autumn Nations last year against France and Ireland. So yeah, he said that was an improvement to finish the game strong, and that didn't age well, Fozzie. So this week, obviously, last 10 minutes is like the worst 10 minutes I've ever seen in the All Blacks in its history ever. I've never seen the All Blacks this back in a 10-minute bit of period ever. So yeah, this was the worst 10 minutes in the history of the All Blacks. To go from, like I said, he was gaslighting the 2 weeks ago, and really showed that didn't age well. And he was like good signs of growth. Yeah, he literally called good signs of growth against Scotland towards the end. To be able to win against Scotland towards the end. But anyway, Foster don't really know why they lost. He reckons England banned them. Nobody knows why they lost. Fozzie is just, his typical, himself trying to make sound like everything's positive for some reason. See here. This is literally something that boggles my mind. This is a quote from Fozzie directly. We are moving well, but it shows we're not quite there yet. And in some ways, it is not a bad spot to be 10 months out. Just gaslighting again, right? You literally had the worst 10 minutes in the history of the All Blacks. This has never happened before, this badly. And he somehow thinks that it's a good spot to beat him. Just gaslighting. Unbelievable stuff. So obviously the fans were not happy, and not else to say. So Eddie Jones actually had an interesting take on so at the end, England kind of had an opportunity to potentially try win the game. Not win the game, but there was a kickoff, so they still had time to play for England, but Marcus Smith just kind of kicked the ball out to end the game. So there was some discussion. So obviously England fans were not happy. They wanted to see the team win. Fozzie jumped on it and said, yeah, if it was me, I would have told my guys to go for the win. Who knows, right? But for England, I felt like, they made the right decision. For Eddie Jones, he didn't specifically say that was the right decision or wrong decision. He just said it's the player's decision. And he didn't actually say whether... He said he trusted decision making. He didn't actually say whether or not he agrees with it. So it's really interesting from Eddie Jones to say that. But Eddie did say that Marcus Smith's performance was the best 40 minutes for his test rugby. I did notice that because Owen Farrell had a bit of a hurt leg, I did notice that Smith was playing at 12 in the second half. So maybe Eddie Jones will get his wet dream finally coming true. I have Marcus Smith playing 12 this weekend against the Springboks. We'll have to see if that's going to happen, especially if Owen is, carrying a bit of a leg issue that they wanted to protect him. So we might see a Mark. I don't know. Hopefully we do. I felt like hopefully we do because Marcus Smith was definitely at 12 when Owen had his legs pulled. So yeah, we'll have to see if that's going to continue this weekend. Hopefully we do, and Eddie Jones will finally get his wet dreams coming true. Next up, Scotland versus Argentina. This was kind of marred by a red card. But the red card aside, this has to be the greatest performance by Finn Russell in his career. This was absolutely spectacular. In fact, this was the best performance by any fly half in 2022. Maybe even 2021. This was unbelievably good. He literally cut up the Argentina defense, which has been pretty good in recent times, is, considering the All Blacks were not able to break it. And for the first game, the All Blacks were not able to break in the first test. He was able to cut him open just with ease, like hot knives through butter. This was absolutely sublime, beautiful rugby for Finn Russell. It was just absolutely next level, better than anything Johnny Sexton's done this year, to be really frank. And this was just individual skill and talent. It was just so beautiful. If you have time to go watch this game, go watch it. Despite the red card, Finn Russell was an absolute god. And as a result, Finn Russell is, Guga Townsend has to swallow his pride and admit that Finn Russell is the premier number 10 for Scotland. This performance is better than the performance against the All Blacks. He was already incredibly good against the All Blacks. And hats off to you, Finn. That was beautiful to watch. I was jumping off my chairs all night watching it. So obviously last week, Richie Gray missed out selections due to a ban for a 3 weeks ban for a dangerous clean out. And next up, Ireland versus Australia. Ireland, this was a really bizarre kind of game. Ireland, obviously, Johnny Sexton was put out of the game 20 minutes before the kickoff, and Ireland has to put up basically like the third, the third reserve halfback of fly half to start, and they have to put like the fourth reserve fly half to the bench. So because Joey Carberry has a concussion, Johnny Sexton got pulled out. So the third a reserve fly half had to start the game, and he was what's his name, young guy. He basically it was basically like his second test or something, whatever his name was. What's his name? But anyways, this was a really I guess, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it a tight game. This was a really bizarre game. Neither teams were able to open up the opposition defense. I do feel like the Wallabies probably had an opportunity to win and are really poorly managed. I felt like without Johnny Sexton, Ireland's just not the same. Ireland's not really like a top 5 team, to be really frank. Without Johnny Sexton, the Wallabies should have toppled Ireland. Ireland did still have the impeccable defense, but just the way Ireland plays, everything is funneled through the 10. I did feel like, without Johnny Sexton, Ireland really missing a few beats there. And Wallabies, on the other hand, neck rolls. Yeah, I was getting hungry watching this in the morning, and there was so many just ill-disciplined neck rolls leading to a yellow card to Fainga'a as well. Yeah, again, who's coaching this? I don't know. I don't know. Wallabies, if they didn't give away so many neck rolls, probably could have won the game. So, in the end, the Ireland replacement fly half. So fourth down fly half came onto the field and kicked the goal to win, like a fairly difficult goal on the angle to win, to take the lead, and eventually won the game for Ireland. And he was Burns. And he was also urged by the referee to kick quicker because it was like the ball kind of fell off. So he had to rush the kick as well and still kicked it dead down center. So that was quite impressive under so much pressure. Literally he had 20-minute notice to get ready for the game. He wasn't even selected to be starting to begin with. So it was really, really impressive. On the Wallabies, on the other hand, has suffered a lot of injuries come out of this game, which makes the Welsh test match, I guess, interesting. Tanana Tupou has suffered an Achilles tendon injury. Andrew Callow had a toe injury. Robert Valentini ankle injury. Dave Parecki has a concussion. Nick White has a concussion. So 6 players. Oh, Hunter Baisami has a what is this? I don't know. Has a ligament injury damage, and on his ligament damage. So 6 players injured in one test match against Ireland. Not looking good for the Welsh test. Obviously, speaking of Welsh, they lost to Georgia Yes, this is the second tier 1 nation. This is probably the first real tier 1 nation Georgia has beaten. So they've only beaten Italy, if you consider them a tier 1 nation before. And that was earlier this year, actually. So this is the second tier 1. Like, this is a real, true tier 1 nation they've beaten. And this was away in Cardiff. So, yeah. 13 points to 12. They basically, Wales came out, like, pretty strong in the first half. And then just, completely lost control of the game in the second half. And slowly allowed Georgia to snatch a win. Yeah, quite embarrassing. So if you were to look at the Welsh side, this is a full-strength Welsh team. This is not some kind of, B team that was playing against Georgia. So Reece Priestland. I mean, you could potentially, Lee Harpenny on the bench. The bench might be a little bit light. There are a few, new guys. But this starting team, there's no reason for this Welsh team to lose. Embarrassing. This was really, really embarrassing. Obviously, there was people talking about Pivac should be fired. They've only won 3 out of 11 tests this year. Welsh under Pivac. To be losing to Italy at home was already considered quite embarrassing at the end of the Six Nations. But this has to be absolutely atrocious. I don't even know what to say. Atrocious. Welsh rugby. So last thing, there was a qualifying spot going on for Rugby World Cup. USA versus Portugal. It was a draw, 16 points to 16. But Portugal basically advancing to the Rugby World Cup based on this was like a little tournament. Based on points difference throughout the little tournament. So Portugal advances to the Rugby World Cup, and USA, for the first time for how long now, misses out on the Rugby World Cup. So USA not qualified at all, and so this was a really tight match as well. USA was leading, and Portugal was able to get a penalty goal on the 82nd minute on the clock, so well into extra time to get that draw, and thus winning the overall by points to advance into the Rugby World Cup. And finally, France extending the winning streak to 13 after beating Japan. And this was another pretty tight match. France was again, without Anton Dupont, still was extremely clinical against Japan. And kind of like a good finish to their season. 13 wins in a row, undefeated this year. So congratulations to France. And and that's the news for last week, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on Friday for the team announcements for England versus Springboks and Wallabies versus Wales. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later this week. Cheers.